Did you realize that aging isn't the only factor affecting leg strength? Many elderly people think that muscle soreness, weak legs, or trouble walking are just natural aspects of aging. But in actuality, though, your diet has a far greater impact than you may realize. But strengthening your muscles, bones, and joints is essential for every stride you take, every moment you stand, and every time you climb stairs. But your diet either strengthens and protects your legs or gradually weakens them. But sadly, a lot of elderly people unwittingly eat foods that weaken their bones, slow down circulation, and harm their muscles, making it difficult for them to move around as they age. But the good news is, this is something you can fix. Making better decisions is something you can do at any age. But you can keep your legs strong for years to come. Regain strength and lessen pain by adopting the proper foods and avoiding the incorrect ones, which foods are stealing your mobility covertly. But here are 5 typical foods that reduce leg strength and their substitutes. But 1. Processed sugar, the quiet muscle killer. But a little sweetness has a reassuring effect. A piece of cake at a family get-together, a tablespoon of sugar in your morning coffee, or even the well-known custom of grabbing a cookie after supper. But after a long day it feels innocuous, almost like a little pleasure. But what if I told you that your legs are subtly losing strength as a result of this daily indulgence? But without realizing that sugar contributes significantly to their deteriorating mobility, many seniors suffer from joint discomfort, muscle weakness, and an increasing sense of exhaustion. Science contradicts your assumption that stiffness and hurting legs are a natural aspect of aging. Consuming too much sugar in your diet is gradually weakening your muscles, making it more difficult for you to remain active, and maybe raising your risk of developing severe mobility problems. But your body immediately feels a surge in blood sugar when you consume sugar, whether it be from pastries, desserts, sodas, or even sugars that are disguised in packaged meals. You may initially feel more energized as a result, but this impact is fleeting. You feel exhausted, lethargic, and weak after the abrupt ascent and subsequent drop. But this pattern gradually impairs your body's capacity to control energy, making even basic motions feel taxing. However, the harm extends beyond changes in energy. But one of the main causes of joint pain and muscular weakness is chronic inflammation, which is fueled by too much sugar. But your joints become uncomfortable, swollen, and stiff when your body is inflamed all the time, especially in weight-bearing regions like your hips and knees. But muscle fibers are also impacted by inflammation, becoming less flexible and more vulnerable to harm. But this explains why so many elderly people have chronic leg discomfort or heaviness even in the absence of a visible damage. But then there's the insulin resistance problem. A high sugar diet speeds up the natural slowdown in our body's response to insulin that occurs with aging. Your muscles stop absorbing vital nutrients like protein and amino acids, which are the very building blocks they require to remain strong when insulin resistance develops. But muscles start to weaken and shrink if they are not properly nourished. Because of this, seniors who consume large amounts of sugar tend to lose muscle mass more quickly, which makes it more difficult to retain mobility and balance. Sugar is depleting your bone strength in addition to your muscles and joints. But the majority of people are unaware that sugar inhibits the absorption of calcium, which eventually results in weaker, more brittle bones. But this raises the possibility of fractures, which can be fatal for elderly people. A straightforward fall that used to only cause a little bruise can now cause a catastrophic injury that compromises your independence. What are you able to do then? Making better decisions is the solution. Not getting rid of all the sweetness in your life, but choose natural substitutes with less of an effect on blood sugar levels, such as honey, dates, or coconut sugar in place of white sugar. In addition to supplying fiber, antioxidants, and vital elements that support healthy bones and muscles, fresh fruits can satisfy your sweet desire. But instead of processed sweets that only provide empty calories, if cravings strike, seek for dark chocolate, almonds, or a small serving of yogurt with berries. But Above all, keep an eye out for hidden sugars. A lot of packaged goods that are promoted as healthy are high in sugar. But breads, salad dressings, granola bars, and yogurts can all have significant added sugar content that is detrimental to your health. But aim for complete unprocessed foods that offer lasting energy and nutrients, and always read labels. How successfully you move tomorrow depends on the decisions you make today. Although sugar can seem like a minor indulgence, it is gradually depriving you of your capacity to stand, move, and live on your own. But don't allow your future be determined by something that can be avoided. Take charge now to ensure that your legs stay capable, strong, and stable for many years to come. But too fast food and deep fried food are your joints' secret enemies. But the crunchy coating of fried chicken, the warm comfort of a deep fried snack, or the crunch of a golden brown French fry, all have an indisputable allure. These dishes are accessible, well-known, and frequently associated with recollections of festivities, family get-togethers, or even just moments of indulgence. But, even though they might please your palate, they are slowly weakening your legs, tightening your joints, and making it harder to move with every year that goes by. But many elderly people think that their heaviness in the legs, painful knees, and decreased mobility are just inevitable consequences of age. But in actuality, however, the years that go by are not as significant as what you eat. But fast food and deep-fried foods are among the worst options for your circulation, muscles, and joints, all of which are crucial for leg strength. But trans fats are one of the most inflammatory chemicals in the modern diet, and eating fried foods exposes your body to these dangerous fats. But in addition to producing weight gain, these fats cause the body to become inflamed throughout, especially in the chronic inflammation, which is a silent killer that makes it difficult to stand, walk, or climb stairs. Damage builds up over time, resulting in weakening cartilage and a higher chance of developing arthritis, a disorder that severely impairs mobility and affects millions of elderly. But however, the harm doesn't end there. Fast food and fried foods slow down blood flow, which deprives your muscles of the oxygen and nutrients they require to remain healthy. But leg cramps, chronic weariness, and a heavy, sluggish feeling that makes even short walks taxing are all symptoms of poor circulation. But maintaining adequate circulation is essential for seniors' muscle function as well as for avoiding major problems like peripheral artery disease, abbreviated as PAD, and deep vein thrombosis, but abbreviated as DVT, which can both result in hazardous blood clots and decreased mobility. The fact that these foods cause quick weight gain, which has an adverse effect on your legs, is another serious worry. But your knees, ankles, and hips will be under more stress the more weight you are carrying. But your knees take in 4 extra pounds of strain for every pound of body weight, which makes movement more uncomfortable and challenging. But for this reason, a lot of older adults who eat fried meals often have joint pain, instability, and a higher chance of falling. But additionally, the extra weight hastens the decomposition of cartilage, which cushions your joints. Movement becomes uncomfortable and sometimes incapacitating as soon as that cartilage deteriorates. But, however, the impact of processed and fried meals on bone health may be the most underappreciated side effect. But the body's capacity to absorb vital minerals like calcium and magnesium, which are necessary for strong bones, is hampered by these foods. Since hip fractures are one of the main reasons why older persons lose their independence, this eventually results in decreased bone density, which increases the risk of fractures for seniors. But a single fall has the power to completely alter your way of life, making everyday tasks into excruciating obstacles. You can take charge before it's too late, which is wonderful news. But use healthier cooking techniques like baking, grilling, or steaming in place of frying. But healthy fats that promote rather than degrade joint health, such as avocado or olive oil, can be used in place of processed oils. But nuts, roasted chickpeas, or homemade snacks that promote nourishment rather than inflammation are good choices when cravings arise. but select grilled or steamed foods over deep fried ones while dining out. But the effort you put into your food now will pay off in the future with stronger legs, improved mobility, and a stronger sense of freedom. Little improvements add up, but your diet can either strengthen or weaken you, or it might do the opposite. It is up to you to decide. Instead of causing discomfort and restriction, let food be a source of vitality and movement. But the next time you think about going for a fried food, ask yourself if it's worth compromising your leg strength because your ability to walk, move, but and live in the years to follow may be influenced by the response. 3. Bite. Processed meats are undermining muscle strength. But for many people, processed meats have long been a familiar and easy addition to everyday meals. A hot dog at a summer BBQ, bacon sizzling on the stove in the morning, or a quick ham and cheese sandwich for lunch. For many years, these dishes have been a part of daily life and customs. But, however, most individuals are unaware that processed meats are subtly weakening the muscles that keep you moving, despite their convenience and flavor. But keeping your muscles healthy and functional as you age is essential to retaining your freedom and mobility. But however, it's possible that the nutrients that are meant to nourish your body are really depleting it. Preservatives, sodium, and dangerous compounds found in processed meats like bacon, sausage, ham, deli meats, and hot dogs gradually impair your body's capacity to function properly. But the excessive salt level of processed meats is one of their most harmful features. Excessive sodium intake causes swelling and water retention, which can make your legs feel heavy, rigid, and lethargic. It becomes more difficult to walk comfortably or stand for extended periods of time as a result of the muscles being weakened over time by this continuous strain on the body. But elderly people who eat a lot of sodium frequently experience more frequent leg numbness, joint pain, and muscle cramps, which makes daily tasks more challenging than they should be. Processed meats contribute to inflammation, a subtle but significant element in the degeneration of muscles and joints. In addition to water retention, processed meats contain nitrates and preservatives that cause chronic inflammation, which gradually weakens muscle tissue by causing silent damage. But additionally, inflammation damages your joints, causing stiffness and pain that can make even easy activities difficult, such as getting out of a chair or ascending stairs. But even worse, inflammation's cumulative consequences not only slow you down now, but also hasten long-term muscle loss, which makes it more difficult to move around as you become older. But poor nutritional absorption is a major side effect of often eating processed meats. To remain strong and flexible, your muscles require high-quality protein, iron, and other vitamins. But, however, processed meats' high chemical content hinders your body's ability to absorb these vital nutrients. But these diets deplete your muscles of the support they require rather than feeding them, which causes gradual muscular weakness that is more pronounced over time. But it's time to switch from processed meats to more nutrient-dense, healthful selections. But if you want to maintain your strength and shield your legs from needless strain, pick unprocessed fresh foods like fish, turkey, or grilled chicken, since they offer clean protein without any dangerous additives. But include plant-based protein sources that are high in vital elements that promote muscular health, such as beans, lentils, nuts, and seeds. If you like sandwiches, choose freshly prepared meats rather than deli cuts from the store. And for a well-rounded lunch, serve them with good grains and vegetables. But your daily dietary decisions have a direct effect on your capacity to walk, move, and live freely. But although processed meats are convenient, you are losing out on strength, which is considerably more valuable. But making the switch to healthier options now will result in more mobility, stronger legs, and the ability to continue being active for many years to come. You have the final say in the matter, and you will be glad you made the proper choice. 4. Goods high in sodium, draining your legs of power. Salt has always been a part of every meal, concealed in processed goods that make life a bit easier. Dusted over eggs in the morning, and blend it into soups for evening. However, what if this basic component, something so tiny and well known, is actually working against you? What if the very ingredient that gives your food its flavor is subtly weakening your legs and making it harder to move every year? But many elderly people believe that leg heaviness, edema, and muscle weakening are merely typical aspects of aging. But the truth is that a diet high in salt plays a significant role in these problems. But excessive salt consumption has a direct impact on your capacity to walk, stand, and move freely, which goes beyond heart disease or high blood pressure. But water retention is one of the main risks associated with a high sodium diet. Leg and foot edema results from the body holding onto extra fluid when there is too much sodium in the blood. But your body is probably having trouble handling too much salt. If you've ever noticed that your legs feel abnormally heavy, your ankles swollen, or your shoes fit tighter than normal, every movement becomes more difficult when you are swollen, which slows you down and makes even seemingly easy tasks, like standing for extended periods of time, walking upstairs, or even getting out of a chair, feel taxing. However, sodium's effects extend beyond edema. Additionally, consuming too much salt impairs circulation, which denies your muscles the oxygen and nourishment they require to remain robust. But maintaining your legs' to energy and responsiveness requires proper blood flow. But too much sodium lowers the effectiveness of nutrient delivery, narrows blood vessels, and raises blood pressure. But this causes muscle weakness, exhaustion, and decreased endurance over time, making even quick walks difficult. The hidden harm salt causes to your bones may be much more worrisome. Many people are unaware that excessive salt weakens bones and increases the risk of fractures by removing calcium from the body. This poses a significant risk to senior citizens. But a minor error could lead to a fall, an injury, or possibly the loss of one's independence because of fragile bones. Excess salt is eroding your bone strength day after day, year after year, even though you might not notice the impacts right away. But nevertheless, sodium is present everywhere, not just in the salt shaker either. Processed foods, frozen dinners, canned soups, deli meats, sauces, and restaurant entries all include sodium. But due to the fact that salt is unknowingly added to so many foods, many people ingest significantly more salt than they realize. However, there is still hope. But flavor is not sacrificed in the name of salt reduction. It entails choosing more wisely. Select whole fresh ingredients over processed ones to enhance flavor without adding additional salt. Use herbs, spices, and natural seasonings. But Himalayan pink salt or sea salt, which contain trace minerals that promote general health, can be used in place of ordinary table salt. Above all, keep an eye out for hidden sodium in packaged goods. You can significantly affect your mood by reading labels and selecting lower salt options. But time is not the only factor that determines your leg strength. Your daily decisions have an impact on it. But reducing sodium intake is one of the easiest yet most effective strategies to keep your legs moving freely, strengthen your bones, increase circulation, and lessen swelling. It's a minor adjustment that could result in a more robust and self-sufficient future, one in which you move with vitality, ease, and confidence. But 5. Processed carbohydrates and white bread, stealing the strength from your muscles. Pasta, white bread, and other refined carbohydrates have been a familiar sight at the dinner table for many years. A dish of pasta for dinner, a sandwich for lunch, or a warm piece of toast in the morning. Everything seems so normal, so familiar. But what if the foods you've been eating mindlessly for years were actually weakening your muscles, reducing your strength, and making it more difficult for you to move freely? But many seniors believe that their legs becoming heavier, their walking becoming more difficult, and their progressive loss of mobility are all normal aspects of aging. But although age is a factor, most people are unaware that the foods they eat on a regular basis are hastening this decline. While processed carbs like white bread, refined spaghetti, and pastries may taste good right away, They actively weaken your muscles and provide little nutritional value within your body. The processing of refined carbohydrates is the first source of the issue. Refined grains are depleted of their inherent nutrition, leaving only empty calories behind. But in contrast to whole grains, which are rich in fiber, vitamins, and minerals, your body quickly turns white bread or pasta into sugar when you eat them, which raises blood sugar levels quickly. You may get a brief spike in energy from this, but it is always followed by a steep decline that leaves you feeling weak, exhausted, and lethargic. Your muscles eventually suffer from this cycle of blood sugar surges and crashes, which lowers their endurance and makes daily tasks more challenging. But however, the harm doesn't end there. Overindulgence in refined carbohydrates also contributes to chronic inflammation, which is one of the main threats to muscle function and mobility. But inflammation makes the body feel heavier than it should, stiffens the joints, and weakens the muscles. But your diet might be more important than you realize. If you've ever experienced leg pain, chronic weariness, or trouble climbing stairs. But refined carbohydrates have the opposite effect of whole grains, which aid in muscle repair and inflammation reduction. They exacerbate inflammation, which impairs the healthy operation of your joints and muscles. But muscle loss is one of the most harmful long-term consequences of refined carbs. Maintaining muscular mass is crucial for independence, balance, and mobility as we age. But, however, muscles lack the protein and vital amino acids they require to remain strong when the body is frequently exposed to refined carbohydrates without adequate nourishment. But instead, they start to contract, making once easy actions feel more challenging. But until basic activities like getting out of a chair, walking long distances, or carrying groceries become surprisingly difficult, the decrease is gradual and frequently goes unrecognized. But fortunately, there is always time to make a change. Your strength, energy levels, and general mobility can all be significantly improved by selecting whole, unprocessed carbs over refined ones. But choose whole grain or sprouted grain breads over white bread, since they are higher in fiber and minerals that promote muscle health. But quinoa, brown rice, or whole wheat pasta provide a steady release of energy without the dangerous blood sugar spikes that come with refined pasta. But include lean proteins and veggies high in fiber to keep your muscles strong and your body well fueled. But your mobility is based on your legs, and how well they function in the years to come depends on what you feed them. Muscle weakening is not a natural aspect of aging that you have to tolerate. You can preserve your strength, safeguard your independence, and keep moving with confidence for years to come by making thoughtful decisions today. But every meal is an opportunity to either take from or replenish your body. And you have an option. Last words. Your legs, your future. You have endured a lifetime of adventures thanks to your legs. But they have helped you get through long work days, strolled with loved ones, and given you the freedom to travel, explore, and live your life as you like. But you might notice that they are becoming weaker, slower, and less stable as the years go by. But many people believe that this is an unavoidable aspect of growing older. But in reality, time does not decide your level of mobility. It is influenced by the decisions you make each day. But your health in the future is greatly influenced by the things you put on your plate. But they have the power to either build and fortify your bones, joints, and muscles, or they can progressively impair your mobility. But growing older is not the only factor contributing to the loss of leg strength that so many seniors encounter. But it frequently results from years of eating diets that deplete the body of vital nutrients, exacerbate inflammation, and weaken muscles. But the good news is that you can alter the trajectory of your health regardless of where you are. Imagine being able to move without discomfort or difficulty every morning when you wake up. But imagine standing straight without any discomfort weighing you down, going lengthy walks with family without having to stop, and climbing stairs without reluctance. These aren't far-flung fantasies. But you can achieve these possibilities, but you must take action, and the first step in taking action is what you consume. But you may already be experiencing the impacts of eating foods heavy in sugar, trans fats, sodium, and artificial additives if you have done so for years. But perhaps you experience regular aches, cramps, or swelling, or your legs feel heavier than they used to be. Perhaps you avoid doing certain things because they seem too demanding or draining. But although these difficulties might not seem like much at first, they might eventually result in a loss of independence that nobody wants to deal with before they are taken away. Many people take for granted the freedom to move, stand tall, and walk without fear of falling. However, things don't have to be this way. You can start to undo the harm by adopting small, deliberate dietary adjustments, by focusing on lean proteins, healthy fats, and nutrient-dense meals and selecting complete, unprocessed foods. You provide your body with the means to regain strength, flexibility, and prevent further deterioration of your legs. But perfection is not the point. One meal at a time. It's about making smarter decisions. You may keep moving forward with the help of your legs, which have carried you through a lifetime of memories. But however, you bear the obligation for taking care of them. But will you take charge of your future, or will you let bad food choices sap your strength? But whether you continue to be active and self-sufficient, or if you become reliant on others for even the most basic movements, depends on the choice you make today. But select health, select strength, select a future in which you can continue to move, walk, and live your life as you see fit. Since your legs serve as your foundation, they should be strong. The purpose of these lectures is to encourage you to live life to the fullest and most genuine. But I would be delighted to hear from you now. Think for a moment, then share one item you've learned that you want to use in your own life. But on this path of accepting these realities, let's help one another. If this video was enjoyable to you, please leave a remark with one. If not, feel free to use 0 in your comment. Your opinions are very important to us. For more videos like these, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and share our videos. But I appreciate you viewing, and I hope you enjoy living your life as you see fit.